Um, I'll not be disingenuous and ask for help because facetious, I suppose, not disingenuous. I don't understand Cory Booker. I don't understand a protester, a Muslim protester protesting the genocide in Gaza and asking for God's help. And when I say I don't understand it, I don't understand their connection to God. I don't disrespect their connection to God at all. But I think that they should look at the relationship that God, as they conceive him, is dealing with the crisis in America and the crisis in Gaza. I think we could demand of God, I think we should demand of God that you should demand of God that he show up in the guise that he's led us to believe he exists in. But I wouldn't be pleased asking him. For one thing, if God's on your side, there's clearly another God on the other side. Some God in this deal is agreeing to the intolerance of trans people, the intolerance of Arabs, of Gazans. And so which one are you asking? Are you asking a sort of generalized one? No, my point anyway is this, that the Constitution was written by men. I don't think it's what it's cracked up to be. I think it's much less than what it's cracked up to be. But nevertheless, it was written by men, by their minds, by their vision of how a world might be. I think it was a backward vision. They were looking back at Greece or Rome or something, at an aristocratic reality. But nevertheless, it was made by men. God didn't step in and say, hey, you shouldn't really be founding yourself as a slave state. He didn't step in. He didn't step in. He hasn't stepped in Gaza. What he tends to do historically is to find us sinning, usually sexually, and then he sends floods, or he turns people into stone, whatever. But that's the one I read about. You might have a better one. He also in Deuteronomy suggests behavior that human beings have clearly considered vile. The notion that religion is the source of goodness is completely scotched by Deuteronomy, the playbook of genocide. Unless you consider genocide a good thing, which clearly some people of God do. So I'm just suggesting that if you look at what human beings have achieved, what they've achieved themselves, what they've achieved imaginatively, if you broaden the scope of what your imagination is and allow it to include all of us, really all living things, because whatever we think about animals, they sure are inspiring and great caretakers of us. We know this. You don't take a human on a plane as your care animal. What else was I thinking about? Yeah, I mean, just start there. Get away from this, from those. I think you will find that the solution to many things exists in. I mean, keep him where you want him. Do. I mean, have your prayers and your conversations or whatever it is. But on the evidence, after a good innings, let's be honest, they've had a good innings, 3,000 years maybe, asking for those particular things in relationship to peace and intolerance and racism, he's not there for that. He must be there for something else. The other thing that keeps gnawing at me is that I'm not really clear on this. I might do another one, but the notion of equality, that we have this society that we live in, and it always, as they trot out the very freedom and equality and human rights and all the rest of it, but it leaves us with this predisposition to pursue proof of our own supremacy. I mean, it's a supremacist society. The Western European society is born that way and has been carried that way. And then we get into our little worlds, and we go and we get our education, and our education becomes part of a competition. We're competing with each other to show that we have better grades than each other, that we can get into better schools than each other. And if the evidence was that this was creating a masterful community of leaders who would share their wisdom with us, and their intuitive and their wisdom with us, and the world would improve, I'd be all for it. I don't think it would happen, because I don't think that that's how equality works. Unfortunately, I think that lots of people gifted with a very high IQ can be absolutely vile, so it defeats the purpose. But yeah, I think it's very difficult to and I was thinking about efficiency also the other day. This great thing, we got to have efficiency. We move towards things, and we do things better and better and better. We're more and more productive. We make things cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, and that really hasn't served us at all. It's made certain people a lot of money, which is why it sticks in the game plan. But in fact, it hasn't really improved much of our lives. And if you have complaints about AI, for instance, be aware that you've been trying for AI for hundreds and hundreds of years, a couple of hundred at least, ever since the sciences started to get involved in oh yeah, that was another thing. This wonderful journalist I was listening to, and he started talking about we have to believe in science. And I thought, well, to be honest with you, my response or my ask about things like pandemics and vaccinations would be, don't necessarily cultivate, you're not a scientist. So you can say, well, trust scientists or don't trust scientists. There's lots of reasons to trust scientists. There's lots of reasons not to trust scientists. My approach to COVID as a non-scientist, but as a believer in science, was as a betting man. And I thought, if they're talking about a respiratory thing and they suggest masks, I go, well, that makes sense to me. And so I would say that I wear the mask as a bet, more than likely to be protective. And also, I hate to say it, of other people. I don't know what kind of society you're living in where you say, no, my right to not wear a mask overwhelms the fact that I might pass this thing on. I might not even have it and pass this thing on. I'd really address that with yourselves. Just have a look at that, because it's fucked up.